Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all. It is a great honor to receive each one of you, incarnated and discarnated spirits, visiting friends from other Spiritist centers, regular attendees of the Cantinho, and those joining us for the first time at our 16th Jorespe. This year, in 2025, our Jorespe is taking place in October for the first time. It usually happens in July, June, June. There he goes. This change of date also symbolizes a new cycle, a new chapter, but with the same enduring purpose to promote a journey of deep reflection in the light of Spiritism, expanding our knowledge, our understanding of the world, strengthening our faith, and nourishing our spirituality. This year, we have chosen the theme Science, Faith, and Spirituality, an invitation to reflect on how these three forces, often seen as opposites, actually complement and strengthen each other. The Spirit's doctrine, with its philosophical, scientific, and religious foundation, teaches us the importance of integrating reason and feeling, knowledge and belief, logic, and transcendence. Thank you all for making this Jorespe a beacon that illuminates and guides our hearts towards the divine light of our Master Jesus. With that, I'm going to invite everyone to close our eyes and so we can start with our opening prayer. Beloved Father, we thank you for the blessing of this gathering, for the opportunity to unite hearts and minds in the light of Spiritism. May your love and wisdom guide every word, every reflection, and every feeling shared here tonight. May our minds be inspired by truth, our hearts strengthened by faith, and our spirits elevated in the pursuit of goodness. We ask that the good spirits who assist this work involve us in peace and harmony, helping us to transform knowledge into love and action. With gratitude, we begin this meeting in the name of Jesus, our Master and friend. So be it. I'm going to invite Mackenzie to do a quick intro. Oh, Nancy actually is going to do the reading for us.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, the message comes from the book The Way, the Truth, and the Life. Chapter 16 Make Straight the Way. Make straight the way of the Lord, as said the prophet Isaiah. John Baptist 1:23. The exhortation of the precursor continues to hang in the air, inviting men and women of goodwill to the regeneration of their usual ways. All the time we see people who come to the faith eager for what Christ has to offer. They long for his peace and divine presence, but sometimes, after their best sentiments give way to unjust anxiety, They end up discouraged and defeated. Where is Jesus? Why hasn't he answered their continual pleas? In what distant realm, so far from their suffering, does the Master reside? They do not understand that Christ may be found every day right beside every true disciple in the kindler messengers of his love. They lack dedication to their own inner good. They run in pursuit of the Divine Master, heedless of John's counsel. Quote unquote, make straight the way. In order for one to feel Christ's sanctifying influence, one must straighten the pathway of which one has been living. Many persons weep on the byways of wrongdoing, they mourn for themselves on the slippery slopes of continuous error. They call out to heaven, but continue to hang on to the oppressing passions of the material realm. Under such circumstances, it is not appropriate for the soul to address the Savior, who accepted humiliation and the cross without complaints of any kind. If you want Jesus to come and sanctify your activities, then make straight the ways of your life and regenerate your impulses. Get rid of the darkness that surrounds you, and you will fill Him beside you with His blessings. That's the message for tonight. Thank you. And we'll have Flávio for tonight's lecture. I'm
No
sorry.
problem, sorry. I was a little confused myself too. All right, good evening, everyone. Now, those of you who are awake, good evening. Yeah, it's with pleasure and with joy that we're here tonight to spend a few minutes talking about this very interesting topic that's going to show up like magic in the television. So before we start, we'd like to thank all of our benemerit spirits, all of our benefactors, our guardian angels, who have been guarding us, who have been following our pathways towards enlightenment and never really abandoning us every step of the way. So we thank them. We ask them so they can really come even closer now, very cozy by our side if our eyes could see them. They can bring peace to our hearts. They can bring enlightenment to our minds so that we can really comprehend the message that Jesus shared and also other scientists have shared for tonight's topic. Okay? We thank all of our folks from Cantinho for the invitation. And I'm going to start by saying this. It takes a very special and interesting group of people to leave their houses in a holiday in the midst of a balmy and windy and rainy 50-degree weather to gather together to listen and to talk about death. Don't you think? That's you guys. So thank you all for coming. Those of you who are here, physically speaking, and those of you who are following us online, either live or through the recorded afterwards. We have a very interesting topic for us to discuss tonight. Near-death experience. We're going to do a scientific approach, and we're also going to do a spiritist approach. We're going to try to bridge some bridges, bring those two worlds together, like science and spirituality and faith, which is the topic of Jorespe 16, as we know. Hopefully, you'll be able to leave that door around 11:45, midnight-ish, give or take, after all the information that I brought to you guys. No, I'm just kidding. 8 o'clock, I promise. Hopefully, we'll be able to leave that door with a little more content and a little more lucidity around the term or around the topic of near-death experience, how science sees it, how we spiritists see it, and what's the compelling evidence that bring those two things together. Okay? So I'm going to start by a quote by Reverend Craig Darling that said, during an NDE, or a near-death experience, I remember having this sense of love like I've never experienced it before. Never experienced it before. So imagine the moment or the time of your lives where you felt the most love ever. Imagine if you could multiply that. And for some people, is when their kids are born. Like my daughter right there, she's 13 years old. When she was born, it was one of the most beautiful moments of my life, of our lives. Yes, 100%. Imagine if you could multiply that by 1,000 or by 1,000,000. How happy, how much love would you feel? That's what Reverend Darling says to us. When he himself experienced a near-death, phenomenon or event, he felt that love that was really taking him apart, sweeping him off his feet in a way that he had not felt such love ever in the past. And this is coming from a man of faith. It's coming from a reverend who was against all the near-death experience, conversations. He would say that such thing doesn't exist. It's a creation of somebody's minds. It's the creation of our minds, our thoughts, and all that. And then he himself had an event, an episode, and he completely changed the way he thinks about NDE. So, my question to you is, what are near-death experiences? Have you heard the term? What are those? Have you seen the NDE name before? What do they mean? Can we look at scientifically? Can we look at from a religious or faith perspective? What are some of the things that come to your mind when somebody walks to you in the middle of the street? Hey, John, how are you doing? When was the last time you had an NDE? What would you say to John or to, so-and-so? Have you had one of those before? Yes. Oh, somebody had. Okay, fantastic. Maybe you could help us if this really means, right? Because the part of what I'm going to try to do now is there are some common patterns of everyone that has had, or most people, I should say, that has had a near-death experience. Hopefully be able to validate it with you, right? If the patterns really make sense. We'll see that at the end, right? So let's do a little approach, what science tells us about near-death experiences, because we need to identify so we know what we're talking about. Same way as when somebody tells you, what is a book? You pick up a book, say, this is a book, right? Yeah, there's pages, there's a cover, there's a text, there's a title, there's content. You know what a book is. When somebody tells you a near-death experience, for those of us who never thought about the term before, say, oh my God, death? I want to get close to death. What are we talking about? And for most people, it's actually a very pleasing experience. For most people. So what does science tell us about near-death experience? So, a scientific perspective, you can see that image. That image is not made by AI, but the first one was. If you remember the topic of my cover slide, a woman laying in bed and her soul or her spirit is leaving her body. That was made by ChatGPT. Thank you very much, right? Sam Altman from OpenAI. But this one I found online. A person in a hospital bed, likely a hospital bed, and the spirit is really, we can see removing or moving away from the body. Does it happen always with near-death experience? I don't know. Let's see. So, when a person enters this state called clinical death, for example, I'm no longer breathing, my heart's not beating, or my pupils are, fixated, dilated. That's why when an EMT comes to you after an accident or something, if you're not feeling well, the first thing they do is they get one of those flashlights and look at your pupils to make sure they're not dilated. That's one of the conditions, I should say, that person is going into clinical death, right? But this is the part that's really important here. Make it potentially reversible. So, for example, when somebody has a heart attack, what happens to our beloved hearts? It's under attack. That means the heart stops for a few seconds, for a few minutes. And then if you're able to reverse that condition, there's no damage to our brains, hopefully. So it is potentially reversible. That's why I mentioned clinical death and not biological death. Biological death, however, is something even stronger than that, and there's irreversible brain death, where the brain functions are permanently lost. You spend so much time without oxygen in our brains that the functions, the brain controls all of our body, movements and organs and all that. That length of time is critical so that the damages start to be permanent. So clinical death is different than biological death. When we talk about near-death experience, we're talking about a patient that has gone through a clinical death that came back from the clinical death. It's impossible to come back from a biological death. Why? Because God doesn't make any mistakes, as we know. We learned from Spiritism. When somebody's clinically dead, there's no coming back. Oh, what about Jesus and the miracles? He resuscitated the dead and all that. If we look beyond what the Gospels tell us, those folks are not biologically dead. They were in a lethargic state where one who couldn't really pick the pulses or the heart activities or the brain activity. And back then, imagine, without the equipment, with all the testing, equipment that we have today, 2,000 years ago, we didn't have a lot of equipment to see that. So when Jesus resuscitated the dead, those folks were in a lethargic or cathartic state so that they could come back, as opposed to a biological death, which is something different. All right? Make sure that's important. So, near-death experience folks, or folks who experience a near-death event, they experience the following conditions. Ready for this? This is the good money slide here. So, following conditions. Brain activity. So, the brain activity, electroencephalogram or EEG or an MRI, show bursts of activity. Thank you, Lucas. During the cardiac arrest, for example. When somebody's going through a cardiac arrest, the brain is going, imagine a lot of signs, a lot of electricity going through our brains. That's very, very common. A lot of researchers, doctors who wrote on the topic, explain what happens when somebody's going through that. The neurochemistry of our brains also changes, and we release some endogenous chemicals, for example, DMT. And DMT is also one of the chemicals found in the hallucination drugs and things like that. So that's why a lot of researchers, when they talk about near-death experience, they think, oh, everything you saw was hallucination. You created all that. Because DMT is, freed from our organism, so that's the same chemical that's found, for example, on psychedelic drugs, or that really makes folks hallucinate and so forth, right? Interesting component on neurochemistry there. A lot of our sensories are disturbed, meaning we can make sense of reality because we're in a different reality, and we have conflicting realities. Oh, but my life is here. I'm going through this. I just went through a car accident, for example, and all of a sudden I wake up and I'm talking to my grandma who had passed, 20 years ago. I'm confused. What's going on? Am I dead? Am I not dead? And I see the car, I see my body in a way that the second picture shows. She had a cardiac arrest, for example, and she looked back and she's there laying down. But I can see, I can hear things, I know what's going on, I know who enters the room, who's leaving, who's talking to me, who's trying to do all the cardiac massage and all that. So you're awake, but you're in a different reality. And that causes a lot of conflict, a lot of confusion for folks who go through an episode like that. And usually it's when people experience extreme physiological stress during cardiac arrest or extreme G-force events. Some pilots, right? Army, Navy pilots and all that, they've experienced, NDE events when the plane's going to do some crazy maneuvers where the G-force is so strong that they sometimes pass out. And they have experienced some near-death experiences during those events. So this is what science tells us, right? And last but not least, it's an accurate out-of-body perception. When you wake up and you see your body, it's like, whoa, what's going on? Am I here? Am I there? What am I doing here? Right? Very common between the ages of, don't get scared, honey, I promise you, between the ages of 13 and 17, for teenagers to feel or to experience that. When they wake up and they go turn the light on and they can't turn the light on because their body is still asleep on bed. That's very common for a lot of adolescents and we see from authors talking about, but what I'm trying to say is there's no one size fits all. Everyone that goes through an NDE is in a different, a different person, a different spirit, as we know. It's going through a different, condition in life, a different situation, and so forth. Okay? But there are some common themes from NDE events. Some patients who experienced a near-death experience, or who witnessed, or who went through a near-death experience, they have some common themes that we learn from the researchers and all that. So imagine you're laying down, you're sleeping, but you're going through a lot of stress in your life. Maybe a loved one has passed. Maybe you're going through a divorce. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe a loved one, decides to let you go. And whatever this stress is, as we know, stress is the leading cause of emergency room visits, right? So if we don't control stress, stress will control us, right? That's the hint for all of us here. So imagine you're going through a lot of stress. And then this episode or event happens to you. These are some of the things that we can expect from the average NDE episode that's going to happen. First, and foremost important, is this sense of leaving the body or out-of-body experience. When you wake up and you look at, oh my God, what am I? Am I this? I see myself sleeping there, but I'm here, I'm standing. What's going on? Imagine if you've never witnessed that before, imagine how much confusion it would be when you saw yourself laying down in bed or on the couch or on the floor or whatnot. It's the feeling of extreme, and I want to reemphasize the word here, extreme peace. Remember Reverend Darling? He felt utmost love when he went through an NDE episode. Love that he had not felt anywhere ever before. Okay? So extreme peace and love, very common. Tunnel experience. Some people see they're going through a tunnel or they're leaving a tunnel. You know what tunnel vision is? When you only see the front and whatever is on the sides, you don't really see that. So you're going through a tunnel vision and you go a million miles an hour to your destination. You're either going in or you're going out. That's a common feeling that a lot of patients, tell us. Also, it's a life review. During that maybe few seconds, the life starts passing by like a movie theater, but super fast, like 200x speed, right? When you were a child in your adolescent years, then you went to school, and then you start your job, and then you did this, and your life moves super, super fast. A lot of folks, they mention that this really goes when they have these episodes. They also encounter a lot of other folks. And this is the part that I would like to highlight, is that oftentimes folks encounter or they see some reunions with folks that have already been passed away for many, many years. And they see them again. They visit them. They talk to them, and so forth, right? So far, so good here? Almost all? Close enough? So they return to the body, and then they're taken back to the body. They wake up, right? And then some folks, mention that they brought some transcendent knowledge that they had not possessed that knowledge before. Oh my God, I had no idea I knew about this. Oh, I learned when I was doing my NDE experience or doing my NDE event episode. These are the common themes that authors or scientists, they tell us. However, there's always a however, as we know. No one size fits all. But there are a few episodes, a few cases where, for example, while many experiences are positive, some NDEs can be frightening and filled with terror, anguish, despair. They can lead to long-lasting, effects, sometimes including difficulty readjusting. But I felt so much love when I was out there. Here, I'm struggling. There's all these difficulties, all these problems, all these, issues. I want to go back. I was happy. I was loved there, and I'm not here. Potentially leading to depression, alienation, difficulty fitting in, relationship problems, and so forth. This is the anomaly, not the The vast majority of the amount of cases, this doesn't happen. But authors, they tell us that sometimes this could happen. So let's go a little more into details. I know it's a very busy slide, and I'm going to only spend 45 minutes on this slide, if that's okay, right? One thing that NG does that's very important is that if I'm going through a near-death experience, and I'm talking to my grandma who passed away 30 years ago, what does that tell me? That life goes on after death, at the very least. So if you don't believe in life after death, when we read all these authors, all these scientists talking about near-death experience, that means that there is life after death. At the very least, it proves, scientifically speaking, that life goes on. That life does not stop when our physical bodies are biologically dead, as we know. And I'm sorry to break it to you, but all of you guys are going to die one day. I'm sorry, but it's reality. Your bodies are going to die one day, right? But the good thing is, we spirits are never going to die because we're immortal. God has created us different way, different times, doesn't really matter. But God has created us in a way that we are immortal. We're not going to die, ever. That's good, right? So, some interesting things that these authors are telling us. So from the left on these pictures, the first one is Elizabeth Kluber-Ross. She's a Swiss author and a psychiatrist. The one in the middle is Dr. Carl Gustav Jung, the psychoanalysis father, so to speak. He quoted the term psychoanalysis, psychologist, psychiatrist. And on the right is Dr. Raymond Moody Jr. No, Raymond Moody, I'm sorry, not Jr. Jr. is his son. The American author who actually coined the term near-death experience. There's a lot of books. One of my favorites is Life After Life by Raymond Moody Jr. It talks about what happens when we wake up and all of a sudden realize that the physical life is not our only life. And that's why we can start making sense of how science is proving what we Spiritists have known for over 107 years. This is not news for us, right? Again, what is a near-death experience? The common perceptions among the thousands. And I made it bold just so you guys remember. It's not like Joey here, Paul there, Larry over there, Jose. No. There are thousands of documented cases of people who remembered their near-death experiences. Thousands and thousands and thousands. Okay? Some may include out of body, like remote viewing. They wake up and, oh, I'm there, oh, I'm here. What's going on, right? Carl Gustav Jung, for example, he wrote in his autobiography from 1944, he had a heart attack. And he saw everything. He was quote-unquote clinically dead, but he saw everything. The EMT, the doctors were telling him, were asking him to do, were asking others, were looking for information. He went in and talked to a lot of folks that have passed from his life, his relatives. They had already been quote-unquote dead, because you never died, physically dead, for many decades. He was able to reunite with them, and he explains to us in a book he wrote in 1944. So that's not new information. It's been around for many, many years, at least 80 years. Right? 1944, my math is correct. Yes, I passed high school math, in case you're wondering. 1944 to 2025, that's 81 years. This has been published for 81 years, right? Elizabeth Kluber-Ross, she wrote a couple of books, and she spent a lot of time researching, interviewing, talking to patients who remembered, who witnessed, or who experienced a near-death episode, so to speak. And Raymond Moody Jr., for example, really talked at length about what was all about, what was some of the conditions, what is some of the potential outcomes, and all that. So, folks, there's a lot of scientific evidence around near-death experience. There's also a lot of misconceptions around near-death experience. Can anybody go through a near-death experience? We don't know, right? Can you foster, or can you try to mimic, or can you try to push for a near-death experience? Some authors believe so, some authors don't. None of these authors were able to explain what was the cause of a near-death experience. One single cause of a near-death experience. Could be a heart attack, yes, but that's only one event, not all the events. Not everybody that has a heart attack that survives goes to an NDE. So we cannot say that heart attack leads to NDE, correct? So none of the authors has been able to explain to us exactly, hey, if I do this, an NDE is going to happen. So they don't know. That's the only incognito, right? As of right now, from an academic research. There are, however, long-lasting impacts of an NDE. So, for example, people that go through an NDE, they fear death a lot less because they've been through it. Think about it, right? They've been through it. So they fear death a lot less. They have a greater appreciation for life and increased empathy for others. Because, we're not this. This is just a tool that we use for this life. We have many, many other tools that we use. This is only one of them. There's a shift in value towards a more altruistic behavior and less materialistic pursuits. What is altruistic? Altruism, if I can break up the word altruism, ism means ideology, body of knowledge, right? Spiritism, ideology of the spirits, and so forth. Altruism comes from the word alter, which is the other. So it's when you leave your life towards the other, when you are charitable, when you think about others, you're an altruistic person. When you believe in altruism, your thought process puts the other in front of you. So you live serving others, you live to help others, and so forth. Folks that go through that develop that altruistic behavior in their lives. Less so materialistic behaviors. In the same way, materialism is the ideology, body of knowledge, interest on material things. A lot of folks, I know you don't get surprised, but a lot of folks in the world, they live, or their main motivation in life is material things. You want to get a bigger house, I want to get a better car, I want to move to a better city, I want to move to this, I want to do this, It's more, less so being, helping, learning. All those things that we Spiritists understand, that's the true life purpose. Not to have, but to be instead. To be a better husband, to be a better brother, to be a better father, to be a better employer, to be a better employee, to be a better neighbor, to be a better everything that we do. All the concepts, all the situations in life that we play, we learn through Spiritism that we need to aspire to become more, better, and better every single day. But what I can tell you is they're mostly positive, lasting impacts, as we know, right? This is what the science is telling us, okay? Let's flip the coin to what Spiritism tells us. Even though I may preface by saying that Kardec proper did not mention near-death experience in the codification. Why? You may ask yourself why. Because the term that Raymond Moody Jr. coined was way after Kardec published his books. So the term near-death experience was not created, did not exist when Kardec wrote, the Spiritist codification in 1850, started in 1857. So, some of our perspectives that we learn. First, the conscientious or the consciousness survives our bodily death. So our conscience, who we are in a nutshell, is going to survive who we are, our bodies. How does that so? So let me ask you this. Think about a loved one that has already passed. What do you remember? What is one of the traits that you remember? Oh, she was so kind. Oh, my grandma used to make an amazing lasagna. Oh my God, it was to die for. Yes, she did. No joke. Right? Do you remember how tall your grandma was? Maybe a little bit, right? If you spend too much time with her and all that. Do you remember a lot of the physical traits, you don't remember. But the moral traits, oh, she did so well. She took care of me so well. She helped this, she did that. She was the anchor for the family. And you remember these characteristics a lot more than the physical ones. Because our consciousness never dies. We continue, we evolve, we go on. There are many examples They're found in Francis Xavier's works, Allan Kardec Properly, Leon Denis, and so many more authors. I've seen some of those books out there. If you want to check them out later, absolutely, right? These are some of the ones that I'm mentioning on this slide here on the bottom. Our physical, or I'm sorry, our spiritual body, our perispirit, connects our souls to our bodies. It's this thing in the in between. And the detachment of our spiritual body from our physical body, the detachment, is when these NDEs happen. So that's not news for us Spiritists. Of course it's not news. Why? Because Spirit's book, part 2, chapter 8, Allan Kardec asks a lot of poignant questions to the spirits, and one in particular on chapter 8 is around the emancipation of the soul. So every time you go to bed, tonight, or maybe in a few minutes, few hours, every time you go to bed, you actually die. Sorry to break it to you. You die. You're almost in this clinical death that we talked about, right? Because your pulses go down, way down, right? Your electric, activity in your brain goes way up, and so forth. So it's the same characteristics or the same components of a near-death experience, but maybe a little, not maybe, with definitely a smaller version. Maybe this is a version 1.0, and an NDE is version 5.0, so to speak. It's a lot stronger when an NDE happens. But every time we go to bed, every time we sleep, our soul detaches from our body. That's the same concept of an NDE. So in a nutshell, we all experience NDEs in our lives. Maybe not as strong as a proper NDE, but every night when we go to bed, we go back to the spiritual world, and what do? We visit our friends. We go into some reunions, and we do this, and some folks are able to study and learn and do this and all that, and gather, and there's a lot of things that we do, right? So Kardec explains to us, or the spirits through Kardec explain to us exactly what happened when the soul emancipates from our bodies. There are some encounters with spiritual beings. That's what happens in a lot of NDEs. Carl Gustav Jung met his grandma and his great uncle, if my memory serves me right, when he had his NDE. So we ended up meeting some of these folks, almost like a reunion, a family reunion, or a loved reunion. Those that we loved, that were here with us for a little while, then they passed, they returned to the spiritual world, and are able to see them again. That's what happens. Obviously, there's some visions of the spiritual realm that's very well, explained and choreographed, so to speak, in the Andres Lewis's collection, Life in the Spiritual World. Life Goes On, No Solar, Missionaries of the Light, and a few others. 13 books that the spirit author Andrew Lewis talks to us about life in the spiritual world. That's exactly what a lot of these folks talk to us about during their NDE episodes. And obviously, opportunity to come back to Earth, because if you witness an NDE, that means you did not completely pass, so you came back. And you came back for a purpose. Because as we learned through Spiritism, nothing happens by mistake. God doesn't throw dice, as Albert Einstein used to say. And we fully agree with that. So if you come back from an NDE, that means your life here is not over. You still got things to do, to accomplish. You still got others to serve, things to do for yourself, for your family, your loved ones, those around you, and all that. That's exactly what we learned through Spirit's book, and also Heaven and Hell, just of reincarnation and our purpose, our values in life, and all those things. So these are the Spiritist perspective on a near-death experience overall. Here are some of the books. They can go more into details of what happens when we see, witness, this thing or this new realm that's different from what we are used to, right? Almost like when I entered this door a few minutes ago, I saw it was like, pitch dark, not a lot of light, and this great, decoration. And this place here, guys, you guys do the best decorations in these events. I'll give you that. I do these things often in different places, but the Cantinho does one of the best decorations of every event that we know. So congratulations to you guys. Look at this. Look at that. This is amazing, right? Simple, but right, does the work, does the job. So, what are some of the convergence points between science on the left, right, and Spiritism / religion / philosophy, right, on the right? There's a few things that we can see. For example, the consciousness beyond body. Science is still debating that. Or where does the conscience reside? Is it in our brains? Is it somewhere in our bodies? Where does it live? Does it live somewhere? You know, we know where it lives. We know that our brains are just the mechanism through which we spirits communicate through our bodies, as we know. Leon Denis, in a book, an amazing book called After Death, talks to us about where does the memory reside, for example. Have you thought of the question, where does your memory live? Have you thought about that? So all your memories, where do they live? Is it in our brain cells? In our neurons? Where do they live? Is it in our perispirit? Where do they live? So we learn about this. We study it in Spiritism. Science is trying to get closer to it. Leon Denis talks to us that all of our memory, they live in the spirit. We bring that with us. But the spiritual body or perispirit is the one who really makes sense of those memories, adapted through the current life that we live. That's why we don't remember things that happened to us in previous lives. Thanks God, we don't remember, right? Things that we did in our previous lives. Because, make no mistake, this is your best version. This here is your best yourself. It's your best you. What you've lived before, you may not want to go back there, right? It's so funny because when people, I want to know what I went in my previous life and all that, and there are some therapies of previous lives. Yes, science has that and all that. But have you noticed that always people, I was a king, I was a queen, I was a warrior, I was a fighter. Nobody was the cleaner. Nobody was the digger or the construction worker. Nobody was the jester. I think I was a jester. That's funny. Make people laugh. That's pretty cool, right? I think I was a jester in a previous life. I like that. So anyways, light and peace. When you look at light and peace, the neurochemical versus vibrational or fluidic interpretation, it's how we interpret versus how science interprets, right? Light and also peaceful. Life review, memory replay, as we talked about, moral reflection. What are we doing with our lives? Am I my best me? Am I my best self? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing and all that? And obviously, this return to the body, there's some physiological, restoration that needs to happen, but there's also a spiritual connection. Because if you leave your body, that means you're not your body. Think about that. You cannot leave something that's you. If you leave your body, you're not a body, you have a body. You left, you saw yourself there. What does that mean? That means you're something else. That you leave something that's part of you there, that doesn't really tell you for who you are. That's why Allan Kardec asks us to think critically about things that we learn. Spiritism is this progressive body of knowledge that is always asking us to ask critical questions, to think with different eyes. That's one of those questions we should be asking ourselves, right? Hey, if I return to the body, that means I can live outside of my body. Yes, you can. That means this body here only serves me for this incarnation, for this life. Yes, I have to take care of it. I have to, do what's best for it. I cannot abuse it, because if I abuse it, there'll be some consequences. As we know, if I eat too much, if I don't eat at all, if I don't sleep, or if I work too much, everything we do, there's some consequences, as we know, right? Funny story. I was invited to do a talk like this in Miami many, many years ago. And I'm talking, maybe 50 people there talking, and the audience. And I saw this guy on the back, Ronnie. And Ronnie used to go to Malden, where we used to be in Somerville back there. If you guys remember our Somerville location, Ronnie used to go there. And Ronnie used to ask a lot of great questions. And then just one day, Ronnie never comes back. I said, maybe he said something, he doesn't like it or something. Anyways, he moved to Florida. We had no idea. So I'm talking, and that's Ronnie. Hey, Ronnie, good to see you, brother. How you doing? He goes, hey, I'm good, man. Haven't seen you forever. Yeah, I moved down here, lost your contact, lost my phone. Those things happen and all that. Yeah, I see you're like working, helping, you're active in the Spiritist Center. Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm here. I'm doing this. I'm volunteering for that, and I'm doing this. Oh man, congratulations, right? And then I said, Ronnie, walk me through, man. How was the experience for you? Because I was, luckily or unluckily, I was born a Spiritist. I never really became a Spiritist, so I don't really know what's to become a Spiritist. Can you walk me through your shoe? I mean, how was it for you? He goes, Flavio, I'll tell you two things, man. The best thing that I learned from Spiritism is that all the good things that happen to me, I'm responsible. All the quote unquote bad things that happen to me, I'm responsible. So, oh, yeah. Law, cause, and effect. I get it, yeah. That was the best. Whoa, that's pretty cool. But he says, the worst thing that ever happened to me when I became a Spiritist is that all the good things that happened to me, I'm responsible. And all the bad things that happened to me, I'm responsible. So, Ronnie, you're confusing me, man. He goes, I'll tell you this. He's a black dude. Before, I used to believe that everything was against me. Everyone was against me. And I get that the world is racist. There's a lot of issues. I get all that. Right? We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Oh, we know that. But I learned not to play the victim anymore. Not to feel like I'm the one that nobody likes, that nobody wants to get close to it. I used to blame my parent, my father who left my mom. I used to blame where I grew up, that was in poverty and all that. I used to blame everything else, including the Pope when I was a Catholic. Now I know I can't blame anybody else but me. Because everything that happens to me, I'm responsible. There's a good side and a bad side. Because now I look back, oh yeah, if I'm going through some challenges, Ronnie, you're responsible. Dude, get yourself out of the chair and move, right? Do something different. This is not working for you. So when he told me that, I never forgot. Because that's someone that saw Spiritism with this scientific faith and spirituality lens that I was not able to put that into words. And it made so much sense to me that when I look at some of these things, for example, the converge between Spiritism and science, or faith, spirituality, and science, makes a lot of sense. And the value that we put into Spiritism grows exponentially. Because we become better persons, better spirits, if we learn what Spiritism tells us and we practice what we learn. It's not going to make us saints tomorrow. I'm not seeing any, wings. There's no wings coming here. Nobody has wings. We know that. There are no angels, no saint. No. We're all working towards our better self tomorrow. Kardec asks us, look at your life. Look what you did yesterday. Look what your, potential to do it tomorrow, and make the leap. Invest in yourself. Stop blaming others. Stop blaming the government, the politicians, and the mayor, and the assistant mayor, no. Just do what's best for you and change your life. I know it sounds easier said than done, but that encounter with Ronnie made me change my mind to a lot of things. So when I look at science and Spiritism, what are some of the empirical evidence that challenges, for example, pure scientific way of looking at NDEs? There's a lot. I'm going to walk you through it. Veridical perception cases. Veridical means from truth. Truthful perception cases. Thousands. Not one, not two, not 5, not 10, not 20. Thousands of cases where researchers talk to us about. There's some cross-cultural similarities. Folks that go through NDEs in the US have the same mechanism, same conditions, so to speak, on average, that folks who go through NDEs in Asia, in Southeast Asia, in Latin America, in other parts of the world. Nothing changes. Cultural aspects mean nothing. The consciousness persists post-brain activity. That's what Pien van Lommel, on the left here, this doctor, medical doctor, talks to us about. That he says the consciousness goes on, even when our brain stops for a few minutes. Our consciousness level doesn't stop. Science keeps evolving, and new paradigms are being discovered. For example, trends in cognitive sciences, near-death experiences by Dr. Hagen. And also, this is one of the best books on the topic, folks. Making Sense of Near-Death Experiences, a handbook for clinicians. It tells clinicians what to expect, what to do when they have somebody that's going through a near-death experience. So, a lot of empirical evidence that are challenging the concept, hey, no, there's no life after death, and people that are very skeptic or agnostic or they don't really believe in anything besides, our bodies, our physical bodies, they challenge these things. But these are researchers, doctors, and folks that are spending their lives into researching the topic. Okay? So, what about some of the teachings that we Spiritists learn from MDE or episodes of near-death experience? So it's a spiritual awakening. I mean, make no mistake. If you've been through it, or if you ever go through one, it is a spiritual awakening. Flavio, wake the heck up, right? What you're doing is not working for you, man. Just change the way things are going. It's a slap on our faces to change some things in our lives, without a doubt. That proves the immortality of the soul, as we talked about. If you're going through an NDE, that means yourself is not your body. You have a body, yes, you do, but yourself is not the same as your body. Okay? Life after physical death exists. We already knew that, so nothing changes. Spiritual reunions. I saw my grandma. We talk about the lasagna that she used to make. She asked how I'm doing and all those things, right? It's great. It's amazing. And law of cause and effect reminds us about everything that we do. If we do something, there's a consequence of that. That's why in Spiritism, do you guys know that nothing is prohibited? Nothing is prohibited in Spiritism. You can do whatever you want to do. But if you do, remember, there are consequences. If you do X, you're going to get Y. If you do X plus something, you're not going to get Y. You're going to get Y plus something, and so forth, right? It's an exact calculation. It's an exact formula. If you do this, this is what you get in return. If you do that, this is not going to get. You're going to get something else, and so forth. So returnees, those that came back, as we mentioned before, they report less fear of death. We, Spiritists, shouldn't fear death. Should give us a little, maybe, butterfly in the stomach, but nothing more than that. Because we learned that death is nothing more than just a passage. That's just a step that we go through, right? The moment we change countries, when we graduate from a school, or we change, same thing. It's a change of state it's a change of state, so to speak, right? More compassion, a renewed purpose in life. Not so much so I'm going to work myself to death and I'm going to buy more stuff and I'm going to acquire more stuff and I'm going to... Guys, I'm not suggesting having things is bad, okay? We all like comfort. I love air conditioning. I pray every night for William Carrier, who I believe, thanks to air conditioning, it's a proof that God exists. Because imagine our summers here, right, without air conditioning, it'll be brutal. Imagine Kardec's era, 1850s, in France, no air conditioning. And they used to wear all those clothing, right? The jackets and the shirts and the handkerchiefs, all those things. Imagine how tough summers were. And it gets worse. There was also no indoor plumbing. We're not going to get there. So indoor plumbing we can skip for another time. But the proof that God exists, yes, air conditioning, indoor plumbing, God loves us. And we thank you, Lord, for giving us all these things. So things are good. But you cannot live just to acquire things. That's the caveat. You got to be careful. Everybody enjoys driving a new car, right? Yeah, it's nice. It's comfortable. It's reliable. It won't break down, when we drive. It's great. But I cannot live just to buy new cars every year. Otherwise, my life will be foolish. My purpose will be... I'll be lacking purpose, I should say, not having a purpose. So that's the difference that we learn through Spiritism. Yes, we have to acquire things. Yes, things are important to make ourselves, have a computer, have a pair of clothing, have shoes that are comfortable and all that, right? Things are important, but I don't only live to buy things. That's the catch. That's why material detachment is one of the learnings that we got. Law of love. We got to love all. Doesn't matter who they are, what they look like, who they love, who they don't love, doesn't matter. We have to love all. Especially, I'm going to even say louder here, especially those that are different than us. Because to love those that are just like us, it's easy, right? But to love those that are different than us, that think different than we do, that vote for a different party than we do. In this day and age, different party voters, they don't even talk to each other, right? I don't need to go far. My own family, some of my my uncles and aunts, they don't talk to each other because of politics. Can you believe that? 2025. Politics is separating people. What? It's awful to think like that, right? Especially those that are different than us. That's what love is. Jesus asked us to love everybody. Does that mean that I'm going to be friends with everybody? No, that doesn't mean you're going to be friends with everybody, because you're friends with those who like the same things you like. If you like baseball, you're not going to find a guy that likes hockey to watch a baseball game. He's going to hate you, right? So, of course, I'm joking around, but friendship is based on affinity. It's based on things you like to do together. If you like to cook, invite somebody to cook with you. If you like to do gardening, somebody that likes gardening is going to do gardening with you. Imagine if you pick a cook and a gardener to do things together. It's not going to work. Trust me, it's not going to work. So, these NDE episodes, they reinforce Kardec's view of life as a school for the spirit. This here for us is a school. We're all learning. We're all getting better at it. Nobody's perfect. We're making mistakes. If you ask my wife, she'll tell you I make 10 mistakes a day at least in a good day. 10 a day, at minimum in a good day. Right? We're all making mistakes. Granted, we're all making mistakes. But this is school. You're supposed to make mistakes. The catch is, if you make a mistake today, you don't make the same mistake tomorrow. You make the mistake today, you learn from it. Tomorrow, you don't make them again. Because you make them again, guess what? You haven't learned the lesson. You got to go back and redo the lesson. The chapter, redo, relearn, reread, and all that. Right? And also reinforces the idea of reasoned faith. Should be a stimulus or a stimuli, a lot of stimulus, for inner reform, for us to be better humans, better spirits. And the reaffirmation of a purpose of life, which is exactly what happened with this guy here, not a Spiritist, but instead a Baptist minister. A Baptist minister called Don Piper, who was driving his car after a conference. He was driving his car, and he saw the accident. He saw something going on up front. He said, hey, I'm fine, everything's fine, you know that. I mean, truth be told, he was also part of the accident later. Well, it wasn't one of those multi-car accidents. He was also part of the accident. And for 90 minutes, he saw the EMTs trying to resuscitate him. They couldn't. They just given up. Hey, he's dead. No pulse, no brains, activity, no EEG, no ECG, nothing I can check, I can see is giving me some signs of life. Let's focus on other ones that are alive, that we can help. He saw them all happening around him, almost like he would remove himself from the situation, open up his aperture, and see the accident that was happening around him. And then he even met with some of his loved ones that he had spoken for like decades. And like the other Reverend, Dr. Darlin, this minister, Don Piper, I also felt this love that really took care of him, that took charge of him, that he had never felt so much strength or so much love ever before. And these guys are just a few examples that we have out there. Those that are prominent figures in the spirituality, in the religious movements, and all that. Notice I brought you a reverend from a Protestant church. I brought you a Baptist minister. Nothing matters. Anybody could have an NDE. A religious person, a skeptic, doesn't matter, right? That's why when you look at scientific, perspective in a religious or a spiritual perspective, it's almost like bridging two worlds that don't seem to be part of each other, like land and ocean. How do you get those two together, right? There's a lot of challenges around that. But we do believe, right, that these two worlds can be brought together. For example, science measures consciousness. Spiritism interprets it, makes sense of it. Both suggest consciousness may transcend the brain, goes beyond what's in our brains, our neurons and all that. Near-death experiences reveal continuity of life beyond the physical bodies. Our life goes on beyond. And obviously, as you learn through Spirit's book, question 799, Spiritism is aimed to contribute so that humankind, or humanity, I should say, can achieve all of our moral and spiritual intellectual progress. That's what we learn through Spiritism. In closing, death is not the end. We knew that already, so it's not news to us. It's just a change of state, Allan Kardec says. Science moves from denial to exploration, as it usually is. They deny. When they can't deny any longer, and they look for ways to control it, to experience it, to replicate, to prove. And oh yeah, I can do this. The challenge with NDEs is you cannot trigger it. There's nothing that we know today that can be triggered, minus some G-forces on pilots and all that. But it's a very small sample of folks. Science cannot really prove a concept or a theory based on a handful of individuals, as we know. Spiritism, however, we offer moral and philosophical meaning for NDEs. Yes, there's something behind that. Law of cause and effect. That happened to me, there's got to be a reason for it, right? As we know. And together, science and spirituality, I should say science, faith, and spirituality, they deepen our understanding of consciousness. But with one caveat. Science, faith, and spirituality, they can do that, but only when that faith is reasoned. Because if that faith is, so-and-so told me that won't get me long. That's why Allan Kardec said, quote, himself, interpreting the works of the spirits, that unshakable faith is the only one that can face reason in all epochs of humankind. So, with reason faith, we can make sense of everything that happens to our lives. So I truly hope that this, few minutes that we spent together have served to give you guys a better understanding of NDEs. Nothing mystical, nothing miraculous, nothing special from folks that go through NDEs, no pun intended. Nothing special. It's just a thing of life. Some folks may experience that, some folks may not. And for those who does or who go through that, there's some common themes, as we learned. Mostly positive, but they can be, challenging sometimes. We as spiritists, we know what happens behind the scenes. It's almost like we go take our car to the mechanic and we hear some noise, some weird noises. We already knew what was the problem with it. We already knew what the challenge was, right? So when we hear the word NDEs, it's nothing more than an encounter, a reunion, an invitation for us to look at ourselves, look at our lives with a different lens, a different perspective, a different prism, but ultimately being an invitation for us to be better in whatever we do. Be better husbands, better fathers, better neighbors, better friends, better employees, better employers, better parents, better grandparents, better great uncles, better in every single social context that we're part of it, because every one of those give us different opportunities for us to keep progressing towards our moral evolution and enlightenment. May Jesus, our professor, our teacher that's always within our sides, continue to enlighten our minds and bring peace to our heart so we can make sense of the world out there that sometimes doesn't make any sense, though we know that everything is under control. Sometimes we don't believe it, but everything happens for a reason, as we learned. May God keep protecting us today and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Flávio. um, I hope everybody traveled with him through this presentation. Was pretty enlightening, I should say. It's go to the past. Um, it's life changing. Never been through an NDE, but I had some issues, and it changes our lives. Even being a spiritist for such a long time, when we go through something like this, or similar, let's say, it really changes the way we see life. It changes the way we live. So it was Flavio, when we started Jorespe like 17 years ago. This is our Jorespe 16, but we didn't have one of them. So when we started this 17 years ago, we had just met Flavio a few years before, and we invited him, and ever since he's been our closest friend, I guess. And he's been here every single year, not only for Jorespe, but all Jorespes. He is here, and he talks to us. Sometimes in Portuguese, sometimes in English, but he always talks to us. He always comes, and I mean, it's we at the end of every Jorespe and at the end of every lecture, public talk that we do here, we offer a little souvenir or little token of our gratitude. And Flavio is the one that, I mean, I don't know if probably he doesn't have all of them, because some of them were so like flimsy that probably they deteriorated over time. Yeah, but yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then so tonight we're going to invite Cristina to give him one more of these souvenirs from Jorespe, and hopefully he will be able, like us, to remember being here tonight again. Thank you. So.
Thank you.
And if you ever want to get one of these gifts, there's only one thing that you need to do. Just say, I want to give a public talk here in front. Then you're going to be able to receive it. So that's the only condition. Not everybody wants to do that. They say that the fear of public speaking is probably the worst fear of the human person. So, yeah, that's people don't like eyes looking at them. It is very incredible. That's something that evolutionary. There are some studies that show why we are so afraid of eyes, and we see eyes That's why we see eyes everywhere. When we look at stuff and then we see eyes and then we are freaked out, it's evolutionary. It's so interesting. So, but coming back here, Flavio, thank you again. It's always a pleasure to be here. I'd like to extend our thanks, like Lucas said in the beginning, extend our thanks to everybody that was able to make. Eric had told us that he would come, and he is here. Maria is back once again. Louise is here again. Andrew is here from Benjamin Franklin Spiritist Society. Thank you, Andrew, for coming. It's so great to have you here, and to all that come every Monday, to the ones that are online, if there's anyone online now or maybe in the future watching this. So thank you, everyone, for coming. So Jorespe is a full month of activities. It starts the very first meeting of the month and goes to the last meeting of the month. So every public meeting, we talk about this main topic. And the main topic for today, for this year, is science, faith, and spirituality. So we are halfway through right now. We just crossed the halfway mark. So we had 4 lectures so far, and we're going to have 4 more lectures to the end of the month. So this next Saturday, and this is the special lecture. Tonight was the specialist, because this word doesn't even exist, right? Specialist. The most special one. Andrew must have almost died there. His heart almost stopped. So because it was in English, and it's the only one in English, so among all of them, this is in English. So we had 4, and now we're gonna have 4 more. This next Saturday in Portuguese, Daniel Assisi will be here. He comes from California. He used to be the interpreter for Divaldo every time he was here. So he was here, he would interpret Divaldo to English. And he travels around the world, just like Flavio as well, doing talks all over the world. He was just in Uruguay last weekend for the International Spiritist Congress. So he went down there to interpret, to give talks and stuff. And he will be here with us this next Saturday. He's going to talk about this DNA of Spiritism. And next Monday, we're going to have a friend of ours that is from Westboro, or used to go to Westboro. She comes here sometimes now, Gislaine Vidal. She's going to talk about medicine and how the power of prayer, and let me just remember, how the power of, I forgot, did I forget to, what do they say there? I forgot to write here. Monday, Gislaine, the power of prayer. Yeah, forgiveness and prayer. Yeah, the power of forgiveness and prayer to heal us. So that's what she's going to talk about next Monday in Portuguese again. So just to make it clear. So those are the next 2. If you want to know more, there's the full program is back there on our board. But also, I'd like to remind everyone that these guys that are coming from across the United States, like Daniel, like last weekend Vanessa, the week before Marcelo, the week after that Deborah, they are coming and they are going to the other centers across Massachusetts. So on Saturday, Daniel will be in the morning in Malden giving a talk there. At night, he's going to be here. On Sunday, he's going to be at Getu. And then on Sunday night, she's going to be at Fealma, right? With Deborah, the same thing. So if we can't make it here, let's go to another center. I mean, it's not exclusivity. We can go to all of them and watch all the lectures if we can. And it's very good to go and see people. I cannot talk about you guys, but I can talk about myself. I am very, very happy when I see people that come from other groups to the group that I work at. Like Flávio coming here. I love when Flávio comes here. I love to see these faces. And I love to see your faces too. So I cannot imagine how happy they can be when they see us, or whoever is coming to their group. So Deborah, for example, when she comes, she will go the extra mile because she can. The other ones couldn't do it because it's hard when you come from far away to stay the whole week. But Deborah will stay the whole week. And then so she will go to these 4 groups that happen on a weekend, which is the easiest. But she will stay the week, and she will go to Benjamin Franklin, and she will go to the center in Fitchburg, Amalia Domingo Soler. So she will do a minimum of 6 public talks. And that's why we're, letting everybody know. So if you have the time, if you have the possibility, let's go visit the other groups. It is important, I think, for us to move ourselves, right? To know other people, to see other people together, right? To have this strength in numbers, right? If we have only one stick, it's easy to bend and break. But if we have like thousands of sticks together to bend and break those is much harder. So that's how we build a strong Spiritist movement, a strong any kind of movement actually. But if we are building Spiritism in this country, that's how we make it, being strong together. So these are the activities in reference with Jorespe and with the other groups. So of course we have our meetings here on Tuesdays. We have our study group, and we are studying Paul and Stephen right now. We have our meetings on Mondays and on Saturdays at night all the time. And the topics for the other groups are on our boards as well. And I would like, if you know, let me know what the topics you guys chose for Deborah so we can put it there, because I still don't know. If you already have it, you can send it to me so I can put it there and let other people know, because I know that she's going to speak in English in both groups, so it will be good for people to. Yeah, it will be Tuesday night. It's 27th. Yeah, so it's the Monday. Deborah will be here tonight. Yeah, and then for you guys will be on Wednesday on the 28th if it's the 27th. So that's 29? Okay, so yours is 28. Yeah, 28. Yeah, so it will be 28 and then 29 on Wednesday for them. Yeah. So, and Deborah will be here on Saturday night. On Monday night it will be Gilberto. Gilberto will come, and he will come here tonight on the last Monday. So, but I'm elongating a little bit. We don't have the passes tonight, but I'd like to do something impromptu here because I think it's worth doing. And I apologize if I do that. I didn't talk to anyone, but I'd like to. We don't have the passes usually during Jorespe, because usually it takes a little longer for us to, sometimes people come and then they have a music, so it takes a long. So we remove the passes. So, but we like to do a final prayer that's kind of more gathering everybody. So, out of protocol, I'd like to ask you guys if any of you would like to say a prayer in English, because English is not my first language. Maybe it's not yours as well. I don't know how. I know that you speak English every day. I know that Andrew is American, so, and you guys are too, but I don't know how. So if any of you would like to say a prayer to finish this meeting tonight, I would be very happy. If you don't, I'm okay with it. No issues. I can do it because I do it every week or every month. But it just came the idea to my mind. So, anyone or no? Do you feel comfortable? Good. So, thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome. Shall you all close your eyes if you'd like to, close your eyes. To God, to our Master Jesus Christ, and the spirits that are within this building around us all, we feel you, we feel your support and your power in our day to day, our night to night, with all the people around us. We thank you for the opportunity for us to be together today, to learn together, to feel stronger under God's will for the purpose of helping everyone around us. God, stay with us. Jesus, we are with us at all times. We believe in you. We feel you. The guardian angels, wrap your arms around us with the power of God. So be it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's I think that's it for tonight. I have this probably it it came to my mind because somebody, told me to do it. But when I do a prayer in Portuguese, right, it comes from somewhere that I don't know where it comes from. It just comes because we learn to speak in that language when we are not even able to speak because our moms talk to us, because our fathers talk to us. I learned English when I was young, but it's completely different. It comes from a place that's different. And we feel the difference, I guess. So thank you for doing this. Thank you, really, thank you for doing this. A few years ago, when this is related to Jorespe, that's why I'm telling the story. A few years ago, that when I first realized that was when Andrea was here with Marcelo. So Andrea and Marcelo came 2 weeks ago, and Andrea is home. Couldn't come with him this time, but she came that year, and he gave a talk, and she gave a talk. I asked him if he could do the Portuguese or English, and heard the same. She said, "No, I'm going to do the Portuguese one," said Marcelo, "and Andrea will do the English one. She is the one that, she was basically born here. He was not born, was here since a very, very young age. So she learned from, and he looked at me and he says, when Andrea does a prayer, she's not just saying words in English. And that's when I first felt that. And ever since that night, I try my best, of course, to say it in English whenever I have to say it in English. To come from somewhere and then don't think about the words, just let it flow. But it is different because the prayer is something that needs to really come from where it came from when he said the prayer. And just to make the bridge, next week, the talk will mention prayer. So I think it's good. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking with us. And let's bring whatever Flávio brought to us tonight outside of these doors, outside of these walls. Let's bring this message to the world. Let's bring this message whenever we talk, but like St. Francis said once, whenever we walk. Talk when necessary only, but spread the word without the word. Spread the word with our actions. That's basically what he taught us. So once again, thank you for coming, and I hope seeing you soon again, either here or there. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you. There's some snacks outside. If you didn't eat in the beginning, you can eat there,